In building a model, we have a number of possibilities in terms of variable selection. One of the most popular types of variable to look at are macroeconomic variables. All of these variables need to be lagged in a regression prediction model for stock returns. Indeed, usually we have to lag these variables more than one period. For example, if we're forecasting the return for February with data at the end of January, we don't have say the consumer price index available for January at the end of January. The most recent data that we have is December. So for that particular variable, we need to put in 2 lags. And almost all macroeconomic variables have to be lagged more than one period. Now, there's some fundamental issues in using macroeconomic variables. First, the data are almost by construction stale. The inflation data, for example, needs to be lagged 2 months. Second, the data are subject to revisions. So the actual data we're using to calibrate our model isn't necessarily the data that were available to investors historically because of revisions and seasonal adjustments. There's another more fundamental issue here. Suppose that I really believe that inflation expectations could affect expected stock returns. And it's fairly simple to make that case. Why would I put in the second leg of the inflation rate to capture that in a prediction model? You know, what does it really matter in terms of February stock return if we put in the December CPI? Now, you might make the argument that it takes a while for inflation to manifest itself within a stock return. But that's kind of a stretch. You can easily make the argument that it takes a while for inflation to manifest itself within the fundamentals of the operation of the firm. The firm's got inventory already, for example. But when we're talking about stock returns, people can figure it out. People know how long it takes for inflation to show its effect within a firm, and people will make adjustments as soon as that inflation rate is released. Almost all of the adjustment happens at announcement. So really what we want is some sort of ex ante or expected measure of inflation, not past inflation. And the logical place to look for that is in interest rates. If you recollect, interest rates contain expectations of inflation and expectations of real interest rates. So we can use a variety of interest rates, short-term and long-term, to capture expected inflation. And these data are also very current. So if I'm forecasting February's return, I've got interest rate data available the last day of January for my model. So in a way, we've got a choice between many macroeconomic variables and financial variables. And I tend to prefer to use the financial variables. They're readily available. They capture expectations about the same sort of information as you would if you had current expectational measures of inflation or real activity or things like that. So overall, most of the models are heavily weighted towards financial rather than macroeconomic variables.